of Mahatma Gandhi, because he is afraid of the man-eater of Malgudi. And then he met with the vendor of sweets, the painter of science, and then suddenly they cross around, came across with a tiger of Malgudi, and then they met with a talkative man who take them with the world of Nagraj, and then they tell their story, the grandmother's tale, and then the days end, which is my days. So I hope you like this, and that's how you can remember it. Okay, so now see the story and the summary. Okay, Swami and Friends, which was published 1935, semi-autobiographical novel. Swami and Friends in the first novel of trilogy written by R.K. Narayan. Other two trilogies are The Bachelor of Arts and English Teacher. So as I told you that Swami and Friends are the Bachelor of Arts. They went to meet the English teacher who is the financial expert. Okay, so these are the trilogy. The book consists of 19 chapters in total. Rajam, police superintendent son who becomes a close friend to Swami. Swami and Friends ideally depicts the growing pain of an adolescent mind. So I wrote. Sorry, I read this story, and this is really beautiful. I really like it, because in my childhood days also, in our class this story is taught, and I really like it, so I start reading it. I really like the innocent and adolescent things. So it depicts the growing of an adolescent mind, the tears after getting hurt, certainly the fears of losing friend. Samu, monitor, Samu's the monitor, Sankar, Samuel, the P, the friends of Swami in that story. The story is about an adolescent boy of 10 years who was growing up at the time of pre-independence era. The story is about the growing of the little boy, about his tears and fears, about his mischief, happiness, and about his wonders and innocence. Swami is the student of Albert Mission School. Albert Mission emphasizes the magnitude of Christianity, stresses on the importance of English literature. Rajam is the symbol of colonial power, drastically changes Swami's life. The form of team called MCC. So this question is also asked, the name of the team. This is MCC, mean Malgudi Cricket Club, also Malgudi Cricket Club. Then our next writing is An Astrologer's Day. So An Astrologer Day, it was published in 1947. An Astrologer's Day is a beautiful story, and it is I like Arkenaran because there are lots of humor, okay, and you can really enjoy it. So in Astrologer's Day also there are many humor, and it is a humoristic novel. So it was published in the newspaper The Hindu. An Astrologer's Day is a collection of 30 short stories that purely describes life in different aspects of life. The Astrologer's Day is mainly collection of stories about characters from every walk of Indian life. That includes the merchants, beggars, herdsmen, rogues, and all of them in one place. Narayan's village, Malgudi, make believe. Okay. The Bachelor of Arts. So Bachelor of Arts, it was written in 1937. It is the second trilogy, and began with Swami and Friends, and ended with English teacher. The story is a make believe of South Indian town called Malgudi. The time is pre-independence, and it captures the spirit of Indian in suffering and freedom, struggle, and also East-West class. Then Chandran is the main character here, and Bachelor of Art is the saga of young mind gradually moving towards maturity. The story illustrates needing position of Bachelor of Arts. So there is a movie also based on this cinema. Okay, and Rajesh Khanna did act. You can watch it also. So there is a needing position of Bachelor of Arts, and he went there as an English teacher. Also portrays the dilemmas associated with the teacher. The teacher Gajapati, who teaches Shakespearean in accented English, struggles with the timetable, exams interpolated with secret cigarette smoking session, and also watching films are described so colorfully that anyone can experience of being at that time. Chandran falls love with Malti, and after graduation, when he tries to marry Malti, he got rejected by her parents because of his horoscope. So it is the autobiography, you can say semi autobiography of Arkanarayan, because for Arkanarayan also got rejected because it is said that he was a Mongolic. He or his wife was a Mongolic, but uh, after this horoscope he married his wife. Okay, so he got rejected and parents, because of his horoscope it says that he is a Mongolic, and if he marries and non-Mongolic girls he will die eventually. So this frustrates, so this is the real story of Arkanarayan's life, and his wife was died early also. So this frustrates him a lot, and he left search of peace in his life, which ends in making him a sage. During his adventure he meets many people and gets enough respect by simple people. After 8 months he returns home and take a job or as a new agent, decides to marry. The story ends with his falling in love afresh with Susila. Okay, so when he came back, his family arranged a marriage with Susila, and he when he first saw Susila, he fell in love with her. Then The Dark Room. It was published in Great Britain 1934-38. It has a feminist view of contemporary Indian society. Savitri is the main character. Savitri is married to Ramani. Ramani is an employee of in England Ingladia Insurance Company. Kamala, Sumita, and Babu are three children of Ramani and Savitri. Savitri, being a submissive housewife, gives birth to three children. Her husband always dominates her, and whenever his torture becomes unbearable to her, she retires in dark room in the house. As the story progresses, in certain distance, her husband got engaged with another woman, and in order to set up her place, he shifted many of the furnitures from home. This includes one of the favorite furniture also. While shocked by the news, the relative Savitri, the relation Savitri, while shocked by the news of his relation, Savitri tries to win back her husband but cannot do so because Ramani's obstinate nature. During the course of the day, she fights back and leaves home without thinking anything. So, dark room becomes a symbol element in the story. The story can be compared with Doll's House. Okay, Doll's House by John Osborne. The Man Eater of Malgudi. Now, the Man Eater of Malgudi. The Man Eater of Malgudi describes about good and evil forces of the central character. Narayana bases his story on the ancient Indian myth of a boasting demons, um, Bhasmasura. Okay, so he take these reference from the myth Bhasmasura. So Bhasmasura stories, you know that when he took his hand on his head and he became Bhasma, and it was the trick of Lord Vishnu, right? So who terrorized the world and dies eventually. The novel is a kind of allegory, and there also a little fly sat on the face of this man, and he with a tool uh, uh, kick it over his head and dies. Okay, so there is a myth of Bhasmasura. So it is a post-colonial tale. Nataraj Bhasu, which is Bhasu, are the main character. Nataraj is owner of a small friendly printing press in Malgudi, and he is polite person with no enemy as such. His life is tensionless till the day he meets Bhasu. Okay, Bhasu arrives at Nataraj's printing press demanding 500 visiting cards. Bhasu is taxi Basu is taxidermist's animal stuffer, and he depicted as a demonic one terrorizing the mankind. He starts living in print stairs, and Basu was creating many problems to Nataraj's life. Basu never gives him money, nor does he sign any rent slip. During story's progression, Basu encroaches Nataraj's life in all aspects. The story comes to an end when Nataraj decided to organize a function on the release of a book of his friend. But very soon, someone informs Vasu that Vasu is going to kill elephant in at the procession. Nataraj decides to talk to Vasu for the last time, but he finds him sleeping. But on the next day, Vasu was dead. Nataraj was being arrested and later gets a clean cheat from police. His friends started avoiding him. Sastri informs Nataraj that Vasu was not murdered, but he had damaged his nerves with his powerful hands while smashing a flying. Okay, oh, he slaps himself and died instantly. So Kumar is the name of the elephant, and Rangi is the prostitute who had an affair with Vasu. Vasu is the man eater of Malgudi, and Malgudi the guy. Sorry, Vasu is the man eater of Malgudi. Okay. Then the story guide is was in our syllabus, so it was published in 1958. So brought its author Sahitya Academy Award. The novel describes the transformation of the protagonist Raju from a tutor guide to a spiritual guide. Railway Raju is the nickname of the protagonist. Raju is the hero of the story who grows up near rail station, eventually becomes a shopkeeper. Later, he becomes a resourceful tourist. Raju falls in love with beautiful dancer Rosie and neglected when she becomes his wife. Sorry. Raju falls in love with a beautiful dancer who is neglected by his husband, by her husband, who is archaeologist Marco. Marco does not approve Rosie's passion for dancing. While with the help of Raju's marketing tactics, Rosie becomes successful dancers. Raju is caught and red-handedly while forging Rosie's signature to sell her necklaces. He stays in jail 2 years. After returning the imprisonment, he decided to go to Malgudi. He uh, he goes to a village named Helen, where the people takes him wrongly as a spiritual guide. They started offering him food and some comforts. The irony of the story is drought and occurs in the village when Raju takes 12 days fast on the people request. After many days on the fasting, on the is in one fine morning when he goes to riverside for the daily rituals, his leg sags down and he feels it is raining in the hillside. So it is open ending. You can know that at the end if he died or not, or if it really raining or not. Maybe it is his imagination, or maybe it's really raining. The ending of the novel is a bit confusing, and it leaves us unfinished and end of Raju's death and end of drought. Then open ended. So it is a open ended. Then our next text is Mr. Sampath, the printer of Malgudi. So it was first published in 1949. The central character is Mr. Sampath. Mr. Sampath, the printer of Malgudi, is a story of relationships. The novel portrays the journey of the central character, Mr. Sampath, who was the printer of newspaper banner. The protagonist of this story is Srinivas. He is a passionate editor of a newspaper that is run by only one person. The name of the newspaper is Banner. Mr. Sampath is the printer there who shoulders the financial burden of the newspaper. In the schedule, he also makes uninvited editorial comments. The relationship appears to work well for Srinivas until the paper closes down and Sampath invites his friend to join him in the world of cinema, movie taking. Eventually, Sampath falls in love with the heroine movie and the steps makes his life difficult as well. Srinivas has his problems over responsibility. Due to some unavoidable circumstances, Srinivas leaves the studio and reverie the banner with another printer. Sampath was not bothered about it, but at the loss of the lady, money, fame, wealth and peace, he comes back to Srinivas. Sampath has learned from his past mistakes and found his true niche, which is place and position. Then, A Tiger for Malgudi. It was published in 1961. A Tiger for Malgudi is mainly a story of a tiger's version. Raja the tiger is the protagonist here. This is a comic story that takes place by the narration of a tiger. It recounts the story of capturing by a circus owner from where he escaped successfully. So this was also in our syllabus, and here you can see that a tiger is speaking and a tiger becomes saint at the end. Not a saint, became a saint like tiger, because he met with a saint. So the whole story is spoken by the tiger. So but again caught by a monk, so he escaped from a circus, from a prison, and then he from cage, and then he met with a monk, and he make the tiger a innocent animal. Okay. Make him timid animal. So but again by a monk with whom he spent the rest of his life in heal and realizes the inner meaning of life by spiritual knowledge. Then the grandmother's tale is the story narrated where when the author narrates his grandmother's stories with utmost tenderness. Narayan is writing his grandmother's story, a look into India, where child marriage was normal and annas were still the currency. This book allows a reader to journey through and old India, which fills with ancient and family tradition. The lifestyle at this time was a bit difficult, but however, it is Narayan depicts its full grace. Told by the narrator's grandmother, the tale recounts the adventure of her mother, married the seven and then abandoned, who across the subcontinent to extract her husband from the hand of his new wife. Her courage is immense, but once her mission is completed, her independence vanishes. Then the next writing, Waiting for Mahatma. You should know all these writings in detail. Okay, so maybe you feel boring, but with me you can read this. Then, Waiting for Mahatma set in final years of India's freedom struggle, where Mahatma Gandhi also appears in the novel. Sri Ram and Bharti are the major characters. The central character of this story is Sri Ram. He is high school graduate and lives with his grandmother in the said village. Sri Ram is attracted to a girl named Bharti, who is active in Mahatma Gandhi's Quit India movement. So these writers, Mulkraj Anand, R.K. Narayan and Rajarao, they are also called the Gandhians. Okay, in M.K. Nayak you can see that they are called the Gandhians. So consequently, inclined by his love's root, he commits himself of Gandhi's Quit India campaign. So in Rajarao's work also you can see a and affection for Gandhi's work, and the protagonists are the followers of Gandhi. In R.K. Narayan's work also, and in Mulkraj Anand also you can see these, right? So these for this reason they are called the Gandhians. So Sriram gets involved in some underground activities that take place in the countryside. He is new to the place and some misunderstandings takes place which runs in the story in comic style. He goes to jail and after returning from there Sriram reunites with Bharati. At the ending their engagement takes place with some of our taste as this happens in the middle Indian partition in 1947. Then My Days is an autobiographical, so it is important. Sometimes they ask that what is the autobiography of R.K. Narayan. It is My Days. The book My Days depicts all happenings of the author's life as well as his ups and downs, his career. Then the financier expert 1952. This is the story in five parts. Margaya is the protagonist in the story and is a proud money lender. Balu is the son of Margaya and he marries Brinda. Then theme of novel is lust for money. The rise and fall and pain, agony, protagonist aptly described in the novel. It is the story of financial expert who was once a proud but later in his life lost almost everything and had to start from scratch overall. He usually spent his time under a banyan tree in front of a central cooperative land mortgage bank. Distributes financial advice to those willing to pay for his knowledge. He becomes rich, but darkness comes to in his life as his son becomes spoiled. When he lost all his money, his son denies to sit under the banyan tree at the old age. He himself decides to sit under the tree and starts all over again. William Wallace hails Margaya as the probably Narayan's greatest single comic creation. Under Banyan Tree is also a novel. Under Banyan Tree is a collection of 28 short stories. So it is a collection of short stories. The character from the title is Nambi, a unique character by Narayana and English teacher. So the English teacher is the Star trilogy of which began with Sami and his friends and the Bachelor of Arts. The English teacher is the tale of life and saga, ceaseless passion of loving someone who so very dearly. The male protagonist of the male protagonist at the beginning of the story is seen working as an English teacher in the same school where he was once studying. The story deals with his life, love, happiness, and sadness. The teacher as an external saga of a ceaseless love. R.K. Narayan decided this book dedicated this book with his to his wife Rajam, and it is an autobiographical story. Krishna is the central character. The story is a series of experience of Krishna's life. These include some of joyful and some sorrowful movements. The hero in the story is in complete love with his wife, and after her death he plunged into a period of darkness and was subsequently obsessed by the thought of communicating Krishna's emotional and undertakes intellectual her and end of spiritual during the course of the novel. Please give me 1 second. Okay. So at the beginning of the story, he was an English teacher in the same school where he was studying. Okay, I already read it. Okay. It narrates Narayan's own happy days and his wife Rajam, who died because of typhoid just after 5 years of their happily married life. So, as I told you, the vendor of sweets, the story illustrates the conflict between two generations of father and son. Jagan, the vendor of sweets and central character, is the central character. Mali is the Jagan's son. Narasima, Jagan's cousin, it is the story of a merchant Jagan who, at the age of 60, still feels young at heart and makes good profit out of his sweet shop. Jagan is depicted as the vendor of sweet in the story. Some waves come in his life when his son Mali returns from America with a Korean wife. Jagan tries to cope with the situation, even his conventional thought, but finally fails to do because his son's nature. Jagan starts feeling irritated with the time because of his son's activity, but subsequently Jagan develops affection for his daughter-in-law, foreigner daughter-in-law. He notices that Mali, his son, is not paying full attention to his wife. Jagan gets scared as he did the same mistake with Mali's mother because of his involvement in freedom struggle movement. Jagan tries to talk to Mali, but he denies, and Mali needs some money for his business, but Jagan refuses to lend him. As a result, some friction takes place, and Jagan starts living isolated in his own family. The story turns into an ending point when Jagan develops some argue to leave the worldly affairs and do some religious work. At the very end, he is informed that Mali is in police custody and also has he left his wife. Jagan gets started. He refuses to help his son, instruct Narsima to help Mali's wife to return to her homeland. So, this is the end of the story. Then talkative man. Talkative man is a local journalist and Narayan's fictional town of Malgudi. The central character in the story is the talkative man. Another important character is Dr. Ran, who comes to the village with some weak thoughts, but he could not succeed in his plans as he was caught by the talkative man. So he is always talking. The story flows in a logical manner which aptly echoes the meaning of the title of the nature of the protagonist. He meets as an intended doctor from land of Timbuktu who was supposedly come to the town as a mission for the United Nations. The talkative man has no real job and no visible means of support, but is a dashing dresser and elegant man. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that he is womanizing predator who seduce young women as then and abandons them without warning. The climax takes place talkative man attempts to prevent the doctor from seducing a young Malgudi woman whom talkative man has all known since birth. The reluctant guru. It is also an autobiographical essay. This is an effort of unveiling the true face of India to the place who think that India is only the land of snake charmers and black magic. The author himself becomes the guru who visits and professes people. Then, The Painter of Science, published in 1976. Raman is the sign of painter in Malgudi. The Painter of Science is the story of Raman and Daisy. Raman is the painter, Daisy is the female activist who employs Raman to paint different signs and symbols in regard to family planning. Raman becomes infatuated with Daisy. Their relationship gets destroyed by some of the misunderstanding, creates a hopeless tension. Finally, we return to his own business life and minor minor artist that he was before. A painter of sign, the novel deals with the contradictory impulses of family planning. Then the world of Nagaraj. Nagaraj is the protagonist written in the form of dialogue. The novel, the world of Nagaraj is portrayed Nagaraj and the people around him through them the town of Malgudi. The story revolves around Nagaraj. He is rich aristocrat belonging with a wealthy Kabir lane. He enjoys his time at home lecturing his wife Sita or seated or the pile watching the people move around in the mystical town of Malgudi. In his free time, he works for free doing an accounts of for his friend Kumar Sarif shop. He eats his favorite cake and he gossips with his neighbor, the talkative man. He plans to write book about the sage Narada. He is forever planning snappy and responses on forceful action he never finds the courage to carry out. He unable to stand up even his wife Sita, his brother Gopu and his nephew Tim. Not even when Tim's wife Saroja's harmonia playing destroys the peace of home, his plans to write about Narada never comes to much. His between his own worthless and uncooperativeness of the pandits he has worked with. So this is the end of R.K. Narayan. So I stop for some breath. Okay. Next, our next writer is Raja Rao. Raja Rao was born in 1908 and died in He was born in 1908 in Hassan and in the state of Mysore in Karnataka. So his most famous work is Kantapura. It was published in 1938. Then The Serpent and the Rope published in 1960. The Cat and the Shakespeare 1965. Comrade Kirillov 1976. The Chessmate and His Moves 1988. So let's know about Kantapura. In Kantapura, there is a preface where it is said that how Indian it is there is a speech by Raja Rao that the English of India, how the writer write English of India, right? So these preface mostly they asked in the exam. So let's know about the story of Kantapura. Kantapura, which was published in 1938, deals with the disobedience movement. Achakka narrates the whole story. The story is narrated from Salta Purana. Kantapura is traditional caste-ridden Indian village. The village is believed to be protected by local deity Tenchamma. So please note down the name because most of the time they ask that who is the local deity, and they also ask that who narrates the story. Achakka narrates the story and the local deity is Tenchamma. Murthy is the protagonist here and he is also the follower of Mahatma Gandhi. So he is the main character of the story. Hirakatha, traditional form of the storytelling and practice in the village. Harikatha man Jaya Machar narrated a Harikatha based on Gandhi and his idols. Bed Khan, a police officer in the story, then uh, Sappingstone Coffee Estate is in the story. Murthy was arrested and women of Kantapura took charge of the struggle for freedom under the leadership of Rangamma. It is mentioned that the people of the village settled in Kasipur and Kantapura was occupied by the people from Bombay. The Serpent and the Rope. Let's know about the story Serpent and the Rope, which was published 1960. It is a semi-autobiographical story. This is a story relationship between Indian and Western culture. Ramaswamy, a young Brahmin studying in France, is married to French college teacher Madeline. Madeline becomes a Buddhist in her spiritual quest and renounce worldly desires after the death of their son Piri. Okay, she leaves her husband to find his own true self and also finds her own true self and also metaphysics of death. Ramaswamy is described by his wife as either 1,000 years old or three. The wisdom of ages. Okay, so this is a beautiful story, serpent and the name, the serpent and the rope. And you can see the summary. You can watch the summary of the novel. Okay, then the next writing is The Cat and the Shakespeare. So it is a metaphysical comedy. The cat represents the Hindu concept of karma, and Ramkrishna Pai is the protagonist and narrator, and Govindo Nair and Ramkrishna Pai are two major characters. Ram Comrade Kilrop. The story depicts the life and ideology of the protagonist. Padmanabha Iyer shows Rao's interest in Marxism, an Indian who ventured abroad when still young. Kirillov came to England in 1928 and settled there. He is seeker and taken from fast by Marxism. Kirillov can excuse and justify the so trail trials while at the same time denigrated Mahatma Gandhi. His efforts in India. The novella covers the 1930s and 1940s to Indian independence and beyond. As the narrator recognizes, Kirillov is the torn between the Indian tradition and remains a part of him, a newfound ideology, and he has embraced. Indeed, even he claims to be what amounts the Soviet ideal. He sounds like nothing so much as ascetics of his homeland. Kirillov eventually returns to India at the end of the author offering a chunk of the diary of Kirillov's wife, Irene. Before the conclusion, in the next generation, Kirillov's son Kamal is then the focus at the end. The author giving up on Kirillov and Kamal soon emerged with his past offers hope for the future, and while Kirillov is lost down his this path, he cannot escape from obsessed like religious fanatic. The Chess Master and His Moves 1988 contains three books. Raja Rao used metaphor and chess games in animated philosophical psychological ideas. The Chess Master is the story impossible between Sivarama Sastry, an Indian mathematician working in Paris, and a married woman. The story is full of uncertainty. No ending can only end in the sorrow and depression. To come to terms with the impossibility, the protagonist turns inward in their search for answer and meaning, transforming the book into a metaphysical exploration. Amidst the this search they get involved in various search of big and or small. Sastri's love for French actress Susanna Chantetiux and her beguiling, effervescent compatriot Milady, for instance, serves to underline the differences between East and West. While the latter seeks happiness in the world, Sastri is looking for freedom from the world itself. So that's all. I hope you like this video, and sorry for the disturbance, the noise. So there will be another 2 or 3 videos where in which I can explain the another writers and their writings, and then South Asian writers and the Dalits. So I hope you will follow these also. Thank you for giving your time.